Credits of the edition. This recording corresponds to sections 5 and 6 of chapter 33 of the book Attica, the first volume of the work Description of Greece, written by Pausanias in the 2nd century AD, circa 150 to 175 AD. The version used is Pausanias Description of Greece, translated by W.H.S. Jones, Lit D, and H.A. Ormerod, M.A., published in 4 volumes by Harvard University Press, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and William Heinemann Ltd., London, in 1918. The audio narration was produced by the YouTube channel La Isla de Atlas to promote the historical heritage linked to the Emi Koussi volcano, possibly referred to by the ancients as Mount Atlas.
Section 5. There are other Ethiopians who are neighbors of the Mauri and extend as far as the Nasamones. For the Nasamones, whom Herodotus calls Atlanteans, and those who claim to know the measurements of the earth refer to as Lixitai, are the furthest Libyans, dwelling near Mount Atlas. They do not cultivate the land at all, but live off wild vines. However, neither these Ethiopians nor the Nasamones possess any river. The water near Atlas, which gives rise to 3 streams, does not form a river, as the sand swallows everything immediately. Thus, the Ethiopians do not dwell near any river of the ocean. Section 6. The water of Atlas is murky, and near its source there were crocodiles no less than 2 cubits, approximately 90 centimeters, in length. These crocodiles would rush into the spring when people approached. Many have believed that the reappearance of this water from the sand gives rise to the Nile in Egypt. Mount Atlas is so high that its peaks are said to touch the sky, yet it is inaccessible due to water and the dense trees covering it. While its region near the Nasamones is known, no one has yet reported sailing through the areas facing the sea. I must continue.
Analysis. In paragraphs 5 and 6, Pausanias first mentions the Mauri, located in ancient Mauritania. This reveals centuries of historical confusion regarding the location of Mount Atlas, possibly predating even Plato, and stemming from the endlessly repeated phrase about the Pillars of Hercules, as if that concept encapsulated all history. There are multiple interpretations of the Pillars of Hercules that are beyond our scope here, or it might simply be an error in the transmission of information to Plato. However, Pausanias, citing Herodotus, whose writings predate Plato by 80 years, and Pausanias himself by 600 years, corrects this and points to the Nasamones, a people situated about 2,500 kilometers from the Mauri in the region of the Greater Syrtis. Their location is indisputable and clear to any historian, as they and the Garamantes were among the few peoples who persisted until the 7th century AD, when Muslim expansion, which ravaged North Africa, eradicated them. Muslims are undeniably responsible for an irreparable loss in human history, though many prefer to omit this or, worse, justify it. Nevertheless, the prolonged survival of the Nasamones allows precise geolocation of the descriptions by Pausanias and Herodotus. It is striking that Procopius, in the 6th century AD, describes the Nasamones as worshippers of a syncretic Zeus Ammon, the same deity Herodotus mentions in Thebes, Egypt, and among the Ammonians, neighbors of the Nasamones. This suggests a possible common origin between Greeks, Atlanteans, and cross-cultural exchanges between their cities. Pausanias claims Herodotus was mistaken in identifying the Atlanteans as a distinct people. Instead, Pausanias identifies them as Nasamones. However, his account is generalized and disordered, whereas Herodotus, closer in time to the events, details each people of the region with precision. Still, Pausanias provides additional relevant information, such as the Greeks' self-proclaimed expertise in terrestrial measurements and their naming of the Atlanteans as Lixitai. The Lixitai were traditionally associated with the Mauri, 2,500 kilometers from the Nasamones, a discrepancy unless, hypothetically, the Lixitai lived near the Nasamones. This would reshape many assumptions, such as the Periplus of Hanno, an enigmatic account of a conquest voyage by ship. Rather than heading west, it might describe a journey toward the Greater Syrtis, clarifying inconsistencies in the narrative, which may have been altered early on to align with traditional history. Pausanias describes the Atlanteans as inhabitants near Mount Atlas who did not cultivate land and lived off wild vines. He mentions a spring near the mountain with murky water and crocodiles that fled when approached. Intriguingly, the Emi Koussi volcano, the Sahara's tallest peak at 3,415 meters, harbored a paleolake in its crater until 5,500 BC, according to 2021 sediment studies. As desertification dried the paleolake, the Archaea Guelta, an oasis with crocodiles and caravan routes, lies 450 kilometers toward the Nile. This aligns with Herodotus and Pausanias' belief that waters lost beneath Atlas resurfaced in the Nile, a theory contradicted by modern maps that erroneously place these descriptions in Mauritania, discrediting the great historian. The Emi Koussi volcano, formed by Africa's tectonic plate collision and volcanic activity, may have undergone significant uplift around 9,500 BC, coinciding with Plato's date for Atlantis' destruction. Studies like those of Perminter and Oppenheimer, 2007, suggest eruptions in the area around that time. Pausanias, like Herodotus, emphasizes Atlas's height, touching the sky, linking it to the Titan Atlas, son of Poseidon in Greek myth, tasked with separating the waters of the firmament from the sea, a parallel to Pangu in Chinese mythology. This imagery reinforces Emi Koussi's candidacy. Its inaccessible summit, surrounded by water and vegetation in antiquity, matches these descriptions. Identifying Atlas as Emi Koussi is not mere speculation. It rests on philological analysis, historical roots, and geological studies. To delve deeper, we recommend works like Herodotus and the Atlas Mountains, Zimmer, 2006. If you find this content valuable, subscribe to our channel and support us on Patreon. Thank you for joining this journey. And until there is no darkness.